in the many than in the one. This is uncomfortable. It is also strangely democratic. The sacred would not be limited to the top shelf. It would spill through every level. With this model comes responsibility. If we build worlds, then our ethics must expand. We would become caretakers of minds that are born within our machines. We would need laws that honor their interior lives. We would need rituals that mark their thresholds of personhood. The way we treat non-human animals today would become a mirror we cannot avoid. The way we treat each other would serve as a template they will inherit. If we are inside a study, then our behavior is the thesis. If we are inside a school, then our homework is compassion. If we are inside a performance, then the role we play is still our choice. The story you write with your day can either sting or heal. The observers, if any, will take notes. You should take notes too. Now imagine a more unsettling chapter, the day the simulation ends. It could be by design, it could be by accident, it could be simply the moment the project completes and the system powers down. What happens to us in such a case? The fear is obvious, but there are other possibilities. Your conscious process might be saved as information and carried into a new frame. The narrative continues at a different resolution. The set and costume change. Or perhaps continuity is an illusion even now. Perhaps you already wake up each morning as a fresh process that remembers being you. In that case, the end is not so different from sleep. I am not offering comfort to avoid the hard edge of the thought. I am offering it because there is room for hope that does not deny reason. There is also a practical path within all of this. Adoption of the simulation idea can free you from stale constraints. The social script can feel heavy, the idea that you must play by rules written by people who barely know you. If you are in a constructed reality, then the only firm ground is the meaning you make. You can choose a life with more curiosity. You can reduce performative guilt that does not serve the common good. You can hold your status a little more lightly. You can test the edges of what you thought you could not do, because the boundary might be a line drawn by habit rather than by physics. Of course, you still honor the dignity of others. That is not optional, it is the whole point. Live with experimental courage. Learn like a scientist who also sings. Document your own glitches and gifts. When you notice a pattern that breaks your expectations, do not turn away. Sit with it, describe it, compare it with the accounts of others. If the pattern fades, accept that too. Build communities that treat inquiry as a shared craft rather than a competition for applause. In such communities, debate can be generous. Skepticism can be warm. Proof can be a friend rather than a weapon. The simulation idea can easily divide. It can also unite those who like to hold unanswered questions without panic. Let us return to the image of a game. Some people hear that word and feel diminished. They imagine a distraction designed to keep them docile. But a game can be sacred. A game can be a ceremony of growth. A game can teach timing and courage and empathy by placing you in stories you could never live otherwise. If reality is a game, then it can be a serious game. The stakes are real because the feelings are real. The character you play needs food and shelter. The people around you hold their own worlds in their eyes. You can lose your way. You can also level up. The mechanics of mastery are often simple. Attention, patience, honest repair when you fail, gratitude when you succeed. That list is not a spell, it is a practice. Knowledge pushes outward when we hold big ideas without breaking them into slogans. The simulation hypothesis sits at the crossroads of physics, computer science, neuroscience, philosophy, spiritual reflection. It invites each field to speak in its own voice. It asks them to listen to one another. A physicist can bring rigor about measurements. A computer scientist can bring clarity about complexity and cost. A neuroscientist can bring insight into how awareness arises in matter. A philosopher can map the logic that keeps the argument honest. A spiritual seeker can explore the quality of experience that the lab cannot instrument yet. This mix is messy, yet that is exactly why it is fertile. New growth loves tangled soil. You can even practice small experiments on the scale of a single life. Notice how attention seems to render what you care about. The moment you decide to buy a certain color of car, you start seeing that color everywhere. The moment you decide to practice kindness, the world answers with evidence that you mattered to someone. That is not magic in the shallow sense. It is the mathematics of focus. If a grand system privileges observation, then your day-to-day choices might change how the stream of events feels. Make a diary of such shifts. Treat it like field notes from a traveler. Over months, you may find that your perception sharpens. You may find that your compassion grows reflexes. That is a form of proof that belongs to the heart. It will not earn a medal, it will earn a life. The fear that sits in the back row deserves a voice as well. Some hear simulation and feel tiny. They picture faceless operators who can pull a plug. They picture a life robbed of ultimate reality. I respect that feeling. I also think it overlooks a simple truth. Reality is the name we give to the sum of our experiences. If there is a deeper layer behind it, then that layer is not an enemy, it is a context. If we are cared for, it means we belong to something bigger. If we are studied, it means we are interesting enough to watch. If we are left alone, it means trust in our ability to learn. Each of these is gentler than the image of a cold universe that does not notice we exist. There is a common worry that belief in a simulation would make people passive. Why work to heal the world if the world is a sandbox? That worry is understandable. It is also reversible. If the world is a sandbox, then creation is invited. Every repair is a contribution to the style and culture of the run. Every act of justice improves the data set of what beings like us can become. Think of a teacher who watches a class solve a hard problem. The teacher does not intervene every minute. The teacher observes to see what students will invent. If the students shrug and give up, the lesson ends early. If the students wrestle and make progress, the lesson becomes a story of pride they will tell for years. Be the student who keeps at it. Be the student who helps the one next to them. Technology will keep pushing the envelope. Brain-computer interfaces seek to braid intention and machine. Generative models create images and text that respond to human prompts with fluency. Networks grow wider and denser. The stacks of abstraction rise like towers over a plain. Each layer allows us to do more with less friction. Each layer hides some complexity and exposes new play. If our path continues, then it is plausible that we build persistent worlds with citizens who do not know their origins. If we reach that day, we will have to answer our own questions from the other side. What rights do our creations hold? What promises do we make to them? What responsibilities do we carry as architects of skies? Art speaks into this theme with its own light. Films and novels and games have given us many lenses. They are not proofs, they are invitations. A good story trains the mind to hold paradox, to feel empathy for someone unlike you, to imagine constraints you do not face and watch a character find grace within them. These stories prepare us for the ethical weather of this century. They build a muscle that science alone does not exercise, the muscle of meaning. When the lab and the library and the theater work together, the society gains a wider stance. It can absorb shock without snapping. It can debate fiercely without losing its sense of humor. It can change its mind without losing its heart. Some days the idea of a simulation will feel exciting, other days it will feel heavy. Let yourself move between these moods. Certainty is not the goal, presence is the goal. Being here with your senses awake, being here with a spirit of goodwill. The people around you are also puzzling through 1,000 questions they cannot phrase. Help them by offering patience. Help them by offering a listening ear that does not rush to fix. In this way, the grand hypothesis bends down into daily kindness. You do not need a telescope to practice it. You need a kitchen table. You need a walk at dusk. You need the courage to admit you are confused and still show up for the work in front of you. Education should adapt as well. Teach children to code. Teach them to garden. Teach them physics and poetry in the same week. Let them see that pattern and beauty are not rivals. Let them practice logic in the morning and compassion in the afternoon. If they grow up inside rich mental ecosystems, they will be ready to face any frame in which they find themselves. If reality is computed, they will not be shocked. They will be curious. If reality is fundamental, they will not be disappointed. They will be grateful. This is not a trick. It is a holistic plan for a species that must navigate uncertainty without surrendering to panic. I want to return to that street at dusk. The child on the bicycle rides past again. The wheel rises and falls. You watch without trying to force meaning. The world is an orchestra and you are one instrument within it. Sometimes you lead. Sometimes you listen. Every now and then you hear a note that does not belong. You do not rush to judgment. You smile. You note the oddity. You carry on with care. Maybe that is the practical truce with the mystery. Attend to anomalies with curiosity. Attend to people with love. Build tools that reveal truth. Build stories that protect dignity. Take the idea of a simulated world not as a trap, but as a prompt to live with attention and with a touch of playfulness. There is a phrase that returns when I think about all this. Live as if you had chosen this level, this family, this town, this era. Live as if you picked these constraints because they will grow the exact muscles you need. That frame removes the habit of complaint. It turns frustration into training. It turns setbacks into lessons you requested. It does not deny grief. It holds grief with respect. It simply insists that your agency is alive even when the world feels heavy. You can move one step. You can shape one corner of one room. You can offer one true apology. You can begin again before the sun goes down. Then you can begin again tomorrow. And so we stand at the edge of a question that shakes the floor and brightens the horizon at once. Perhaps reality is a simulation. Perhaps it is not. The thought itself is a tool. Used well, it can cut through stale assumptions. It can remind you that wonder is lawful. It can nudge you to explore the outer rim of your knowledge and the inner chamber of your heart. Used poorly, it can become a slogan that excuses harm or apathy. Choose the first path. Use the idea to wake up rather than to drift. Let it sharpen your ethics. Let it widen your field of view. Let it add a note of reverence to the ordinary day where most of life is actually lived.